Oh my gosh, this is definitely the most finished objects I've ever had in a podcast. I'm pretty sure I had like this much yarn left over. Did a great game of yarn chicken with this one. Hi, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel, Jamie Sage Knits. Today I'll be sharing my 6th podcast where I'll be talking about actually several finished objects, some of which I don't even think I've shared in a previous podcast as WIPs. I'll also be sharing a couple of works in progress and some plans for my upcoming knitting, so stay tuned if you're interested in hearing about that, maybe getting some inspiration. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe to keep up with my knitting and comment down below to let me know what you're working on at the moment. Before we dive in, I also wanted to mention the sweater I'm wearing right now. This is the Arctic Light Pullover by Kutovakika or Veronica Lindberg. This is one of my favorite knits ever. I talked about it in my Everything I Knit in 2024 video. It's just a super fun all over cabled sweater with some different motifs on the sleeves, on the front and back. And the collar is meant to be sewn down, but I actually have mine unsewn so I can have it it's like a little bit of a funnel neck, turtleneck, or so I can just kind of tuck it in and wear it as a little like mock neck. So absolutely love this project, and I realized I had never worn it in a video, so decided to wear it today. I think this is a really popular one as well, so let me know if you've knit this and what color you chose. Now let's dive into my finished objects. Actually, one other thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned this in my last video as well, but the Arundel Pullover by Ellis Knitwear, which I test knitted, has now been released on Ravelry. Some people had commented on previous videos and asked when, when that would be available, or they were interested in knitting it, so I just wanted to mention that in case you would like to knit that for yourself. And with that, let's get into my newly finished objects. So the first one I don't think will come as a surprise if you've been watching my recent videos. This is the Cinema Sweater by Kutovakika. I think, getting pretty close to being done with this in my last podcast. So I was able to finish this up. And it's a little hard to show on camera because it's all black. But this is just a kind of cozy, oversized, easy to throw on sweater. It is a raglan with a folded down 1x1 ribbed neck, and then it's supposed to have 1x1 ribbing on the hem and the sleeve cuffs as well. I accidentally did 2x2 on the first sleeve just because I was used to it from some other projects I was working on, so I repeated that for the other sleeve, and that contributed to a little bit of like a tight cuff balloon sleeve, like a very slight puff sleeve effect, which I actually really enjoy. I like having those tight cuffs and then a little bit of like a rapid decrease, and so you can kind of see that here. And yeah, I don't know. Oh, I knit this in Drops Alpaca and Drops Brush Alpaca Silk, both in the color black, and because of the alpaca content I decided not to block it. I think it would just like stretch out too much, and the stitches are even enough, and because it's black you can't really see the stitch definition. So I'm really happy with it. The sweater is designed to have 12 to 16 inches of positive ease. The finished bust measurements span from 45 to 77 inches, and I knit a size small, which I think gives me, right in the middle of that range of positive ease. So I love this oversized, cozy fit. I decided to knit it not super cropped, just kind of like a regular length. It can be tucked in to like pants or a skirt, and because of the alpaca fiber, it's pretty soft and comfortable to wear against the skin. So I'm really enjoying this just as like a staple in my wardrobe, and I realized I didn't have just like a plain black sweater, so I thought that would be really nice to add into the mix. Next up is one that I think I also referenced in my last video. This is the Poetria Pullover by Sari Nordland. This came after a whole saga where I was choosing between 2 lace yoke sweaters, and then when I went to her website to purchase one, I saw this as one of the featured patterns and fell in love with it. The same yarn that I already had would work fine for this pattern as well, and so this one has a lace body and then stockinette sleeves. And I haven't blocked it, so the lace is looking a little bit scrunched, but it's already looking pretty nice, and it's fitting pretty well. I just hope that it'll relax a little bit with blocking. And this was such a fun and relatively quick knit. The sleeves are quite tapered and kind of like bracelet length, so they work up quickly. And I've knit a few oversized sweaters recently, like the cinema sweater, so this one felt pretty fast in comparison. And I found the lace on the body so fun to work on and like kind of popcorny or potato chippy or whatever we call it. I just like kept wanting to go to the next row. And the yarn I used was Drops Flora in light gray and Drops Kid Silk in the color gray. So it was interesting using two colors with a bit more of like a color differential. You can see it created this kind of marled effect, which I really like. I'm excited to see if blocking changes that at all, but yeah, it creates just like kind of this speckled, a bit more interesting effect. You can really see it in the seed stitch in here, which I think is interesting. Yeah, I'm really happy with that color, and it has this really nice plush folded neck. It has 1x1 ribbing on the cuffs and everything as well, and the construction is, it's a raglan, but instead of short rows, it is started flat and then kind of worked flat in a short row type way, and then joined in the round, and then pick up the collar later. I feel like it's so fun when you have a sweater that you're working on, it doesn't have the collar yet, and it just kind of looks like blah, and then you pick up the collar and it just whoop, picks like scrunches in the stitches and gives it this shape, and it starts looking like a real sweater. So I love that. You'll notice I worked on a couple of raglans recently. I really love raglans. I feel like they fit my body shape pretty well, and I just find them like an enjoyable construction to knit as well. So I've really been enjoying that. This one was so much fun. I'm almost like sad to have it be done, but I don't know if I'd make another one just because it's a very like particular pattern. Maybe if she has like a tank top, or I think she does have a t-shirt version, so maybe I'll look into that as well. But I absolutely love this one. In case you're interested in knitting it, the finished bust ranges from 35.5 to 67 inches with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease recommended. I did a size 3. And we'll see after blocking how it fits. But yeah, absolutely loved this one. It was super fun and enjoyable to knit. And we'll have to see if I do a similar one in the future. After that, I think I had referenced this in my last podcast. I was interested in starting the Sadie top by Woozy by Celine, and I wasn't planning to knit it kind of exactly to pattern. I had one ball of, or skein of, the yarn Little Kumo from the brand La Bien Aimée, and the color is Pretty Pink, which is this beautiful like light blush pink. And that has 400 meters per 50 grams of, it's like a baby suri, 65% baby suri, 35% silk. And I didn't want to get another ball, so I knew it wouldn't be realistic to knit the shirt to pattern, but there were a lot of aspects of the design that I liked, and I wanted to kind of make a pattern, or like make a project based on that pattern. So that's what I decided to do. And you'll see it's much more cropped, and the sleeves are not quite as wide and are much shorter than the actual pattern, but it has the same overall effect, and it is so soft. It feels like a cloud. It was so much fun to knit up, and it went really quickly because it's on 6.5 millimeter needles. It was so much fun. I really liked the like non-curling tip that she did for the ends, because it's just stockinette. It worked really well on the sleeves. On the hem of the body, it's not quite as good, but I haven't blocked it yet, so I think maybe with blocking that will help. And I'm also excited to see if it will relax out a little bit with blocking. I don't have it with me, but I'm pretty sure I had like this much yarn left over. I did a great game of yarn chicken with this one. I was weighing my ball like frequently to make sure I wouldn't run out. And yeah, I really like it. I think it'll be super cute to wear like over a dress as like a little, I don't know, not like a cardigan because it's a little like sweater blouse thing, but just to like throw over if it's a little chilly, or to wear over like a bralette or a tank top with like, you know, high-waisted pants or something like that. So I'm really happy with it. I would love to make another one more true to pattern in the future, but this was a bit of a splurge yarn, and so I wanted to figure out a way to make the most of that one ball, and I'm really happy with it. I don't know if I mentioned I based this off of the extra small, so it's definitely not the recommended amount of ease. It's a little bit just like tighter, but still with a couple inches of positive ease. I added in some waist shaping just to like help with using less yarn, but also because I thought it would be nice to have it a little bit more fitted to my body. I don't know, I'm really happy with it. It was an interesting construction as well. It was very much like a compound raglan. The instructions were really clear on when to add, you know, the body shaping, the sleeve shaping, when to do both. And so yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I'm excited to wear it a lot come spring. And this top has, I think, 9 sizes ranging from 39.5 to 61 inches. And it has a recommended ease of 6 to 8 inches, which I definitely did not achieve with mine. Probably only like a few inches. But yeah, I think it has a nice wide range. It's so beautiful. I did knit this a bit unseasonably. Like, I'm not going to be able to wear it probably until the spring. But I don't know, I just was so excited about it. The yarn was calling to me from my stash, and it was a super quick knit. Obviously, I knit it up in a couple weeks since my last podcast. So yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I would love to make another one maybe in a couple of months. And then my last finished object, oh my gosh, this is definitely the most finished objects I've ever had in a podcast. This is another one that I think I referenced in my last podcast, but I had not even started it. So so cute. I think I referenced the yarn that I bought at Vogue Knitting Live. This ball of yarn was from the brand Humade in the line Made Plush. This is 70% Pima cotton, 30% fine merino. There wasn't a color name, but it's just like the green color. And it's a worsted Aran weight yarn with 218 yards per 100 grams. I don't know if I referenced this in my last video, but I was originally planning to make a cardigan for my not yet born niece, but I was anxious about the buttons as a choking hazard, so I decided instead to do pullover, and I chose this sweater, which is the Clotilde Sweater by Pernille Larsen, Knitting for Olive. And I thought this lace pattern would be really cute and fun, and it would also be a good fit with the breathable yarn, right? Because this is like a mostly cotton yarn. It's not going to be like a super heavy winter sweater, so I was already envisioning more of like a spring project, especially with the color as well. And so I think the lace will, is cohesive with that. I also didn't have quite enough yarn, so I made it like 3/4 sleeves. So overall, I think it's a nice springtime sweater in terms of the color, the fiber content, the design, and it turned out so cute. It was really quick. I think it took like 10 or 11 hours, and it made me want to do more baby knits for sure, because it was so satisfying and fun to work up. And I do really like the lace pattern. I thought maybe I would get tired of lace after the Poetria Pullover and then this one, but if anything, it's just put me into like more of a lace mindset. So I would love to find some more lace patterns to work on in the future. And it's so fun. This pattern comes with a bunch of children's sizes. So this is the 12-month version, which has a 24-inch bust, but I think the pattern goes up to like a 12-year-old estimate, which has a 37-inch bust, which is interesting because I feel like, that could be for an adult as well. It just wouldn't have much positive ease. So I was really happy with this pattern. I felt like it was really clear. The lace was worked from charts, which I enjoy. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was super fun and quick, and would definitely recommend this pattern if you have kids, or if you have a small bust and want to work it up for yourself with limited positive ease. So yeah, super happy with that one. Kind of a surprise pattern. I do have a couple of works in progress. The first one is kind of somewhere in the middle because it's a pair of socks, and I just finished the first one and then started the second one. So this is pre-blocked, so it looks a little scrunched. But this is the Euterpe sock by Sari Nordland from her book Softly Timeless Knits, and I talked about this a little bit in my previous video. I really wanted to get into socks. I've never knit a pair of socks. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't love like small circumference, like DPNs or magic loop, and socks seem kind of fiddly, so I don't know, but I actually really got into it. Like, I was enjoying it a lot, and now I would love to knit up just like a plain stockinette sock with a beautiful yarn to showcase. I really enjoyed like all of the shaping of it. I enjoyed like increasing for the toe, doing the heel turn and like the heel, and yeah, so I'd love to do more socks in the future, but this one is like quite detailed, so I think a simpler sock might be a little quicker and more fun. But I'm enjoying this one. I'm knitting it up in Malabrigo Ultimate Sock in the color Pearl, and the pattern comes with 3 sizes for a foot circumference of 8 inches, 8.75, or 9.25. So we're doing the middle size, and it does fit his foot. Kind of understandably, the cuff is a little hard to get over the heel, but it fits. Once it's up there, it's fitting very nicely. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. I'm not that familiar with socks, so I think this is a slip stitch heel. I don't know if there's a particular name for how it works otherwise, but I really enjoyed the construction of this and like the process of knitting it, and then it seems to fit his foot well. I don't know how it'll hold up in terms of longevity. I do know that I tried to knit a pair of socks like years ago, and that had an afterthought heel, and that just did not work well for me because I never went back and put the heel in. So this one was actually really fun, and I was excited once I got to the heel to do the shaping, and I enjoyed like the short rows adding it in. I think it looks really cool to have this little slip stitch patch. So yeah, I'm very happy with this overall. And then I immediately started the second sock so I don't get second sock syndrome, and I have finished the toe and am working on just starting the pattern. So yeah, I'm enjoying that and hoping to continue working away on the second sock. And I think, now that I've done the first one, it'll be a bit easier to do the second one, and I'll show you a bit closer. This beautiful twisted rib cable. The twisted rib adds like such sharpness to it. And then there's a totally different motif on the back. I think this is like my favorite cable on the sock. This one's so cute. But I like this diamond thing too. So yeah, really enjoying this. And I don't know if it's realistic to have the second sock done for my next podcast, but we'll see. Maybe the one after that. And I do have a totally different other work in progress, which I think I had mentioned in my Make 9 video. This is my mosaic sweater, also by Pernille Larsen. There's a lot of balls of yarn attached to it. This is a pretty kind of like easy pattern. It is a color work design. You can see the color work is already working up, and it's kind of like a geometric repetitive pattern, which is cool. It has a maximum of, I think, 5 stitches of any one color, so I decided not to catch floats. And it's, pretty easy and mindless most of the time, but in a fun way. It's working out pretty quickly because it's on 6mm needles. It's kind of like an Aran, or maybe like a light bulky weight. And this is, I would say, more of like a product knit for me. It's not the most fun and engaging, but I'm really excited for the end result. And I like working on it while I'm like watching TV or something like that. So I think I'll just chip away at it, but hopefully finish it in the next month or so in order to get somewhere out of it in March and April before it gets too warm. And I am using the last of my big order of drops. This is drops Flora and drops Kid Silk in the colors Off-White and Black. And I've heard some discussion of this in the knitting world, but I think a lot of designers, especially ones who are affiliated with a yarn brand like Pernille Larsen, I think owns Knitting for Olive, they are motivated to like make you use more balls of yarn so that you'll buy more balls of their yarn. So this one, interestingly, it calls for 2 strands of Knitting for Olive merino and 1 strand of mohair. I don't see why you couldn't just use 1 strand of heavy merino, but I don't know. I just saw that. This was also like, I placed this big order like months ago, and I feel like I've learned so much since then about lots of aspects of knitting and construction, but also like yarn substitution. But when I saw that, I was just like, okay, like 2 strands of merino, 1 strand of mohair. I don't want to like change it up too much. So I'm using 2 strands of Flora and 1 strand of Kid Silk. And I think I could have used like 1 strand of Drops Lima or something like that, but whatever, I got the 2 strands of Flora, and it's fine. It's just like a lot of balls of yarn to manage. I think it's doable because it's only 2 colors, but it is a little annoying, and I just have to be careful, especially when like putting it away. I have to put it away very neatly so it doesn't somehow get tangled in the interim. But yeah, I am enjoying it so far. Like I said, it's knitting up super quickly because it's on big needles, so I'm going to continue blasting through it. Oh, I didn't really say about the construction. It's I mean, you can probably tell it's knit bottom up, which is kind of common for all over color work. And then it has instructions for both steeking or knitting flat for the yoke and for the sleeves. So I probably will knit it flat just because I've steeked a couple of colorwork sweaters recently and it'll be fun to do something a little different. Also because of the 3 strands of yarn, I feel like it could be a little tricky or annoying to put in steek reinforcements. So I think I'm just going to try the flat knitting instructions and see how that goes. And the pattern only includes 5 sizes. The finished chest circumference ranges from 38 to 59.5 inches, and there's not a specific recommendation for positive ease, but based on like the chest circumferences that she says these will fit, I would guess like 2 to 8 inches of positive ease maybe is recommended. I'm knitting a size 2, which will give me about 7 inches of positive ease. So we'll see how that goes. All right, those are my only 2 WIPs at the moment. I am about to start a new sweater, actually as part of a knit along. So I have mentioned this before. I'll be knitting the Cognac sweater by Atelier Castine as part of the knit along with Evgenia from Nicotina Knits and Sherry from Good Knits. I will be using this beautiful hand-dyed yarn, which is from the brand Wool Through the Trees in the color Hemlock, and the fiber is mohair merino, which I think is 53% mohair superwash and 47% mohair. I could be incorrect, but yeah, I just love this kind of like deep green color with these kind of like lighter, almost yellowy toned portions. And I talked about this project in my Make 9. I will be doing a fair bit of gauge math because the recommended approach is to knit with 6mm needles using a fingering weight plus a mohair strand. That would still give a pretty open fabric. I thought that this yarn, because it's a fingering weight with mohair, I was like, maybe it'll give me the gauge. Absolutely not. The 6mm was way too open for my taste. Some people in the knit along chat are also saying that it was too open for their taste as well, so maybe it's not just the yarn and like the gauge they're asking for is quite open. But I also gauge swatched on 5mm and then 4.5 and then 4mm. I decided to go with the 4mm. Even though it will require more gauge math, it will just give me a fabric that I'm happier with. Even that has a lot of openness in the fabric. So I will be knitting a size 7, and that should give me, I think, like 3 to 4 inches of positive ease, so it's not even that much, but because of how different my stitch gauge is, that should give me the fit that I'm going for. So I'm planning to start this quite soon. I wound up the skein into a ball and super excited. So you can follow along on my Instagram as well for more updates with that knit along if you're interested. I also ordered some yarn, but it has not arrived yet. So I think that will be either I'll put in a clip if it comes in the next couple of days before I post, or I will just include it in my next podcast. But yeah, that is everything I wanted to talk about today. Please feel free, like I said, to subscribe if you're interested in following along with my knitting journey, and comment down below to let me know what you have been working on, or if you have a podcast that you would like me to check out. So thank you if you got to the end, and I'll plan to see you next time. Bye.